And now we can use our stage voices.
Stage voices.
Big and loud stage voices.
Nice and dramatic.
Slow, because when you enunciate, it becomes more important. Right, Calvin?
Correct.
Correct.
Indeed. Greetings and salutations, viewers. Welcome to BookExpo 2018.
Yay!
I am Charles from Inspire the Muse, coming to you today with another author interview. This time round, we are talking to Aaron Yeager.
That's right, I am Aaron Lee Yeager. Hello out there in the great world of the internet.
Thank you for taking some time out to talk to us.
Always, always. No one comes to talk to me, so I'm always super happy when someone does. We're lonely. Please, help us.
Well, all the viewers are watching now.
Oh, good.
And listening, I hope. So we were hoping...
Listening to our stage voices.
Because we're on site and it's loud.
It is. There's a lot of ambient noise here.
It gets old fast.
Does it?
Yeah. We were hoping to learn more about your recent release.
That's
just
right.
What it's all about.
Okay, so this is my new book. It is called The Forge and the Flame. This is the first of a 5-book series. The first one is called The Spark of the Apprentice. And this is about a boy who becomes an apprentice to a blacksmith who makes magic swords.
I'm in.
So, you know how in fantasy stories they always have those special swords? This is the guy who makes them. So
Someone has to.
You need a short sword that can summon dragon fire? There's no place better to go. You need a dagger that can constrain lightning? There's no place better. And what's great about this is I'm actually a blacksmith.
Really?
It's a hobby of mine.
That's
and
awesome.
so in this, you will actually learn real blacksmithing techniques, and it is fascinating. There's something so wonderful about taking raw earth and fire and like shaping it and creating something that's uniquely yours, right? Like when you make a knife, it's unlike any other on the planet. It is yours. It is stamped with your individuality. It's like it has a life of its own personality.
And when magical, sometimes they do have a life of their own.
Yes, exactly. And that's what's so great about fantasy is we take reality and then we add on this fantastical layer, right?
Yep.
So you're still using real blacksmithing techniques, but now you're like heating it with dragon fire, right? And you're using like fire moths to get just the right temperature. And amazing materials that like can only be worked during moonlight and stuff like that. And
That's
it's
awesome.
so much fun. It's so much fun.
What was your creative process like bringing a book like this to life?
Okay, so like I believe that everyone has their own story that only they can uniquely tell, right? That's the great thing about storytelling is we all have a story.
That is what we've been pitching for 7 or 8 years now. Exactly.
Maybe
So
you should pitch
it
in your stage voice.
Everyone has a story.
I'm gonna keep doing it. It gets funnier every time I do it. Okay, so like The Forge and the Flame is like, I created it through a bunch of elements that are really important to me. One is my love of swords. I love swords. I think swords are so cool. And they have so many different kinds of swords. There are so many shapes. Like look it up online. There are, swords for every different kind of occasion. You have like your formal wear swords, and then you have your black tie swords. No, I'm serious. But the shape of the swords and the weight and the balance and the shape of the hilt, the materials that you use. There were we don't think of the Middle Ages as being particularly scientific, but blacksmiths were engineers, right? They were chemists and alchemists, and they had thousands of generations of practical experience of shaping it this way here and moving the weight a little bit that way there, and they came up with some designs through trial and error and experience and talent that rival what we could make even today. There are some sword designs that are so specialized in what they do that even with modern techniques, we can't optimize it beyond that.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's really cool stuff. So first was my love of swords. And second was my love of fantasy. I think that storytelling is our oldest craft, right? Way before we were painting on cave walls, way before, we were dancing or anything, we were telling stories to each other. And it's a very powerful tool because stories reinforce what's important to us. They tell us, they kind of fundamentally answer the question, what does it mean to be us, right? Who are we? And through our stories, we talk about the things that we value. And I love, the childlike innocence that I put into the main character, right?
Okay.
Where he solves he's not a wimpy kid. Baron, his name is Baron. He's really strong, and he can fight, and he does fight occasionally. But that's not what makes him a hero. What makes him a hero is his ability to reach out and connect with others, right? To resolve the conflict, instead of slaying the monster, you befriend the monster, right? You remove the threat not by eliminating its life, but by eliminating the danger. And it's his compassion that makes him a real hero. And I love that about him. I love those kinds of heroes, right?
That's really cool.
Where by the end of the story, you've got all of these people that used to be villains that are now on the hero's side because one at a time he has converted them to the light, I guess you could say. So those are like the two core elements. Is I had my love of swords, my love of I guess that's three elements. My love of swords, my love of fantasy, and my love of connection and compassion and forging bonds with others, because that's what the real magic in life is, right? When we transform someone from a stranger to a friend, that's magic.
It is indeed.
And that's the magic in the Forge of the Flame too.
So this is a very powerful trifecta, effectively.
Yes. Oh yes, absolutely.
Were there any surprises or lessons learned while bringing this whole story together that you'd like to share with us?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, I'm one of those authors that, like, the characters really do take a life on their own. And some of these characters really just grabbed the story and ran with it, right? Like, Baron has a sister that came out on the page so strong and so hilarious that I'm actually working right now on a spin-off book because she goes off to be an apprentice at a tailor shop. But she was so much fun that I'm like, I gotta write her story too.
That's awesome.
Right? And I didn't plan it. It wasn't a conscious decision on my part. Like, I'm gonna make this little side character super interesting. She just showed up and I wanted to follow her around with the camera. And that's kind of, and so that was one thing. And then there's a character named Son, who's the daughter of the master.
Okay.
She has a lot of mystery around her. She has this golden hair, like metallic golden hair. Her eyes are golden, right? And she has a special bond with the dragons. And in the first book, you're not really quite sure what the answers to her mysteries are. But she came, again, her character just was so wonderful that in the second book, she takes a more prominent role. And I find that with most of the stories that I write, certain characters that I thought were going to be really important kind of fade into the background, and certain characters that I thought were just going to be extras just kind of push themselves to the foreground. And one of the things that you want to be willing to do as a writer is be willing to let that happen, right? Don't force it.
Yeah.
Don't put your characters in a little concrete box and say, no, you're only supposed to be this. You have to make this decision because the plot requires it. I need you to say this right now, not because it's true to who you are, but because that's what the story requires.
Yeah.
When you pigeonhole your characters like that, they don't feel like real people.
You take the life out of them effectively.
Yes, you turn them into little puppets, little tools that move the story along. And there's a case to be made for a strong narrative, and sometimes you want twists and turns, and sometimes those twists and turns do require certain elements. But if you force it to the point that they no longer feel like people, in my mind, you've broken the story. Because we don't read stories for the plot, we read stories for the people, because it's between people that we really forge our greatest connections.
And those are the stories I tend to engage with the most.
As do I. All of my favorite stories, I'm there for the characters. I'm rarely, I can't think of any examples where I'm sitting there going, I don't like any of these characters, right? But I'm here for the plot. Have you ever? I've never found myself saying that. Like, I don't like any of these characters, but boy, the story is great. I never say that.
One book.
One book.
One book.
What, now you piqued my interest. Which one?
I'm going to get a lot of hate mail for this.
Oh boy.
So get ready with that email. Lev Grossman's The Magicians.
Okay.
Book 1.
Uh-huh.
It's the only one I got through.
Uh-huh.
I despise the characters with an unholy passion, but the concepts that were built in there and the magical universe built within still intrigue me and make me maybe want to read the second book.
Well, there you go. So there are always exceptions to the rules, and that's great. And if you love that book, then you continue loving it, because I think everyone should love what they love.
Yes.
Right? And there's no right or wrong. If something speaks to you, if it resonates with you and gives you joy, then it gives you joy, right? I think that's the big mistake we always make, is we try to pretend that stories can be rated and graded and measured, and they really can't, right? A story can be technically brilliant and the crafting can be flawless, but if it doesn't speak to you as a person, if it doesn't work its way into your soul and become a part of who you are, then your experience is diminished, right? And so there we have a case of the opposite. Maybe it was technically flawed beyond redemption for some people, but it worked for you. And so put it on your mantle, be proud of it.
I still have it on my shelf.
And don't send him hate mail. Don't send him hate mail. He's allowed to like what he likes. And don't send me hate mail for defending him either, because I don't like hate mail. It hurts me. I just did the worst thing you could possibly do. I told the internet, don't hate me. Never say that to the internet. Can we cut that out, Calvin? Can we cut that part out?
As your email flashes on the screen.
I know, as my email flashes on the screen. Right now, my Rotten Tomato score is dropped by about 15% and falling. It's cold out here. The Forge of the Flame is reaching its winter.
Before it drops any lower,
okay,
where can our viewers learn more about your book for purchase?
Okay, so you'll find The Forge and the Flame on the Amazon Kindle. Just do a search for Aaron Lee Yeager, or for Winterwolf Press, which is my publisher. Right now it's an ebook, but starting today, we're doing physical copies as well. So go to the Winterwolf Press website and you can find out everything you need to know. And this is like my 9th book. I have a whole bunch of books on the Amazon Kindle store that I've already published myself.
Oh, wow.
And they're there. They're great. They're like $3 each. I get to keep like $2.50 of it. So if you like me, if you like what I do, you can throw me a couple bucks and I'll keep doing it.
I highly encourage our viewers out there to check out The Forge and the Flame, check out the other books, purchase them, ideally, and after having read them, please post a review online so it can raise the visibility of these books and help others find them, connect with them, and enjoy them. And as always, viewers, until next time, go be creative. Go have some fun. Go read a book.
And flame responsibly.